Why strategy matters. What do Apple, your university, and your favorite pizza place all have in common? They all rely on strategy. It doesn't matter if you're a tech giant, a nonprofit, a student organization, or a weekend side hustle. If you want to succeed, you need a plan for how you're going to win. And no, strategy isn't just a buzzword. It's the difference between reacting to the world and shaping it, between chasing every opportunity and choosing the right one. Think of it this way: Apple doesn't just build products, they build positioning. Your school doesn't just offer degrees, it crafts a vision for education. And your favorite pizza place? It probably competes on something: speed, taste, price, vibe. That's strategy. In today's video, we're going to unpack what strategic planning actually means for managers. We'll talk about how organizations define their mission, vision, and values, the different levels of planning, what gives a company competitive advantage, and why the best strategies are flexible, not fixed. By the end, you'll understand how managers use strategy to connect today's actions to tomorrow's goals, and how you can use the same mindset in your own projects, teams, and career. What is strategic planning? So let's start with the basics. What exactly is strategic planning? Strategic planning is how an organization defines where it's going and how it plans to get there. It's a roadmap. It connects long term vision to short term action, and it helps leaders make choices about what to pursue, what to avoid, and how to allocate resources wisely. The foundation of strategic planning usually starts with three big ideas: mission, vision, and values. Let's break those down. Mission. The mission is the organization's core purpose. Why do we exist? Who do we serve? What need are we trying to meet? A strong mission is focused, grounded, and clear. Think of Nike's mission: to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. That's not about sneakers, it's about purpose. Vision? If mission is the why, then vision is the where. The vision statement paints a picture of the future the organization is working toward. Tesla's vision: to create the most compelling car company of the 21st century by driving the world's transition to electric vehicles. It's bold, ambitious, future facing. Vision keeps teams inspired and aligned. Values. Finally, values describe how the organization operates day to day. What behaviors are encouraged? What principles guide decisions? Values influence culture, ethics, and how strategy gets executed. For example, Patagonia doesn't just sell outdoor gear. Their values include environmental responsibility and activism that influences everything from product design to supply chain to brand storytelling. Together, mission, vision, and values shape the strategic identity of an organization. They set the tone for what kinds of goals are worth pursuing, and they keep the team focused on what matters most. But here's the key: these ideas don't just live on the About Us page, they're meant to guide real decisions. And that's where strategic planning becomes a process, not just a poster on the wall. Strategic planning answers questions like: where are we now? Where do we want to be in 3, 5, or 10 years? What opportunities should we pursue? What threats do we need to watch? What resources do we have, and how should we use them? It's not about guessing the future, it's about preparing for it with intentional choices. Whether you're leading a Fortune 500 company or a student run nonprofit, strategic planning gives you a way to lead with purpose. Levels of planning. Strategic planning doesn't happen all at once, and it doesn't happen at just one level. In most organizations, there are three levels of planning: strategic, tactical, and operational. Level 1: strategic planning. This is the big picture stuff. Strategic planning happens at the top of the organization by executives, boards, or founders. It answers questions like: what industry are we in? Where do we want to be in 5 or 10 years? What's our competitive advantage? What markets should we enter or exit? Strategic plans are usually long term, anywhere from 3 to 10 years. Think about a company like Netflix. Their strategic decision to move from DVD rentals to streaming wasn't just a tech move, it was a strategic shift in business model, audience, and competitive positioning. These decisions don't happen often, but they shape everything else. Level 2: tactical planning. Once a strategic plan is in place, middle managers turn it into tactical plans. These are medium term goals, often 1 to 3 years, focused on departments, teams, or major functions. Tactical planning answers questions like: how will marketing support this new strategy? What training does HR need to roll out? What resources should operations shift to support the new product line? Let's go back to Netflix. If strategy said move to streaming, then marketing's tactical plan might include creating new messaging for digital audiences, launching awareness campaigns, partnering with device manufacturers. Tactical planning connects the vision to the execution. Level 3: operational planning. Now we get to the day to day. Operational plans are created by frontline managers and team leaders. They cover the short term, weeks or months, and focus on tasks, scheduling, and resource allocation. Operational questions include: who's working which shifts? What's the checklist for this week's rollout? How will we track and report performance? Using the Netflix example again, an operations manager might coordinate the team uploading content, managing server capacity, and resolving support tickets during rollout. It's all connected, but on a very different level. Why the levels matter? Here's the key insight: strategic goals are only achieved when tactical and operational plans are aligned. If the top says one thing, but the middle and bottom are doing something else, nothing gets done. Think of it like a pyramid. At the top, vision; in the middle, coordination; at the base, execution. Each level depends on the others, and each level speaks a slightly different language. That's why managers at every level need to know two things: what's our part in the bigger picture, and how do our decisions connect to the level above and below. Here's an everyday example. Let's say your university has a strategic goal: become a national leader in sustainability by 2050. The facilities team sets a tactical goal: cut campus electricity use by 20% over the next years. Then a residence hall sets an operational plan: run a power down campaign this semester and install smart thermostats in all common areas. Strategic, tactical, operational, all aiming in the same direction, but playing different roles. That's aligned planning, strategy, and competitive advantage. So now that we've covered the structure of planning, let's zoom in on the purpose behind it all. Because a good strategy isn't just about staying organized, it's about building and protecting something called competitive advantage. Let's define it. Competitive advantage is what allows an organization to outperform its rivals. It's what makes customers choose you over someone else. And that advantage can come from many places: lower costs, faster delivery, higher quality, better service, a stronger brand, unique features, or a combination of all the above. Let's look at a few examples. Walmart competes on cost. Its supply chain buying power and scale allow it to offer lower prices than many competitors. Apple competes on design and user experience. Their advantage is emotional, built on aesthetics, brand loyalty, and seamless integration. Southwest Airlines built its edge on efficiency, fast turnarounds, no frill service, and consistent pricing. Trader Joe's wins with curation, a smaller, more carefully selected product mix that changes frequently and builds customer loyalty. Each of these companies made strategic choices that shaped their advantage, and those choices weren't random. They were planned, protected, and constantly refined. Here's why this matters to you. Strategy isn't just about doing a lot of things well, it's about doing the right things better than the competition. And that usually means making trade offs. For example, you can be the cheapest and the most luxurious at the same time. You can't serve every customer equally well. You can't lead in every category. So you choose where to focus. Michael Porter, a leading strategy expert, puts it this way: the essence of strategy is choosing what not to do. So, how do you build competitive advantage? It starts with three questions. What makes us different? Why does that difference matter to our customers? Can we sustain that difference over time? A good strategy answers all three and builds a system around them, because real advantage isn't just a cool idea, it's a whole ecosystem of choices that reinforce each other. And this isn't just for big companies. If you're starting a tutoring business, your competitive advantage might be flexible hours, a proven method, personalized feedback, or being a student who gets it better than a generic service.
If you lead a student club, your advantage might be consistent events, a strong alumni network, or a culture that's inclusive and well known on campus.
The point is, strategy scales, and competitive advantage comes from thinking clearly about who you are, what you offer, and why people choose you. Why plans must adapt. Let's face it, even the best plans don't survive first contact with reality. Markets shift, competitors react, customers change their minds, technology evolves, and something unexpected, like a pandemic, can rewrite the rules overnight. That's why one of the most important traits in strategy isn't perfection, it's adaptability. Here's the truth: strategic plans are educated guesses. They're based on what you know now, but the world doesn't sit still. Great managers know that planning isn't a one time event, it's a cycle. And if your strategy can't adjust, you risk falling behind. Let's walk through a few examples. Remember Blockbuster? They had a solid business model. Rent DVDs, charge late fees, dominate retail. But they didn't adapt quickly when streaming started to take off. They had the chance to buy Netflix and passed. By the time they tried to pivot, it was too late. Their plan worked until the environment changed. Now think about Netflix. They started with DVD delivery, then moved to streaming, then original content. Now they're producing global shows, creating video games, and testing ad supported plans. That's strategic evolution. This is why the planning and control cycle matters. You set a goal, take action, monitor results, adjust if needed. That same logic applies to strategic planning. You plan, you test, you reflect, you revise, and if your strategy no longer fits the world, you change it, not because you failed, but because you're leading forward. That's what separates good planners from great managers. They don't just launch a strategy, they listen to it, they pay attention to results, they track feedback, they stay curious. And when the world shifts, they don't panic. They pivot intentionally and with purpose. So remember, your plan is a starting point, not a final answer. Strategic thinking is about direction, but also about responsiveness. And in a fast moving world, the ability to adapt your strategy is one of the most valuable leadership skills you can build. Let's bring it all together. Strategic planning isn't just for CEOs and corporations, it's a mindset, a way of thinking that connects your daily decisions to long term goals. What's your plan to win? That question applies whether you're leading a company, running a campus club, or launching a side hustle. Here's what we covered. Strategic planning begins with mission, vision, and values. It's about purpose, future direction, and the principles that guide your path. Planning happens at three levels: strategic, tactical, departmental goals, and operational and day to day action. And alignment between those levels is key. Strategy is how organizations compete, not just survive. It's about building a sustainable advantage that sets you apart from the competition. But even the best strategies need to evolve because the world doesn't wait. Plans must be flexible, tested, and updated as conditions change. So now it's your turn to think strategically. Ask yourself, what is the mission? Why does this team or group exist? What's the long term vision? Where are you trying to go? What values shape how people behave and make decisions? Then go deeper. What competitive advantage do you have or want to build? Are your short term actions supporting long term success? And when was the last time your plan adjusted to reflect something new? You don't need to write a 5 year strategy, but you can start thinking like a strategist. You can clarify your goals, align your efforts, monitor what's working, and adapt when conditions shift. That's how good strategy turns into good management. And that's how leaders stay relevant, no matter what role they're in.